Welcome back to another Trackman tutorial video. Today I'll be covering normalization and the optimizer. I'll be doing so in Trackman Performance Studio on the PC, but keep in mind that everything that we talk about today is also capable of being done on our iOS apps as well. Another point to touch on is that I'm going to be using some previously saved data via shot history, but you can always use normalization and the optimizer during an active session. Once we're in shot history, I'll select my session from the other day where I hit a couple irons, and then click the golf ball icon next to each club, which then selects all of its data so we can view it. At the bottom of the page, you can see all the details for the shots that you just chose, such as club, ball type, date, and name. It's also important to note that all of these shots were tracked outdoors with normalization off, nearby here in Scottsdale, Arizona, which is 1,200 feet above sea level, and on a 90-degree day. If we take that same temperature and elevation and put it into the normalization settings in the settings menu, once normalization is turned on, it rules out any effect that wind has on the ball and converts the data to that of a premium golf ball. As you can imagine, normalization is super useful when practicing outdoors on a windy day. That way you can see what your ball would be doing without any effect that the wind has on it. Now let's dive a little deeper and choose a specific shot, one of the 7 irons that I hit. I also want to take a quick moment to point out all of my data tiles that I've chosen on the bottom of the screen. The bottom row is all of my club data, which will not change when normalization is turned on. The top row of data tiles, however, is comprised of launch and flight data, which are all of the parameters that generally change when normalization is turned on. So let's close that menu and turn normalization on. You can do so by clicking the N in the very bottom right hand corner of Trackman Performance Studio. As you can see, when normalization is on, the button is highlighted in orange. As for the data, just like we mentioned earlier, it's only the top line comprised of launch and ball data that actually change when normalization is toggled on and off. Another super useful way to use normalization is to manipulate the temperature and elevation settings to prepare yourself for what your ball would fly like at a different location. For example, I'm inputting the temperature and elevation of Denver. That way I could see what my yardages would be like if I had a tournament coming up there. Now, as you'd expect, once I turn normalization on, my carry and total numbers seem to increase dramatically. The last feature we'll go over is the optimizer. With a shot chosen, you can turn it on by choosing the optimizer button in the bottom right near normalization. Once it's on, it enables the optimizer view above and shows us which shots are deemed as optimal or not. Those that are optimal are highlighted in blue in the top of the screen. You can also set the optimizer to choose whether a shot is optimal for low, medium, or high trajectories as well. One last thing to note is that the optimizer does require normalization to be on. This means that if you're hitting outdoors on a windy day, the optimizer is still only taking into account your club data and impact data to deem whether or not the shot is optimal. And that just about does it. If you have any other questions about normalization or the optimizer, please feel free to check out some of our other videos, or you can always contact our support line. Thanks.